Greetings. This is my extra credit assignment number 1. I decided to go with option number 3, which is to prove our understanding of one or more concepts we learned in the first few weeks of this course. What I have decided to do is I have decided to create a random pattern generator using some of the ideas. I want to first demonstrate how this works. When you press the new random pattern button, a random pattern is generated, and you have the option of increasing the complexity of this random pattern by pressing this button. And what this complexity button does is it increases the number of little squares in the original canvas. By continuing to increase the complexity, you can get all the way down to the pixel level, and you can have a pattern that is very, very complex at the pixel level. Or you could also decrease complexity by making those little squares larger and larger in size every time the size doubles. And you can go all the way to a full canvas size square. What I want to quickly do is I want to go over some of the code that went into creating this so that we can see how this was created. First, I had to understand a number of things that were implied or mentioned in real-world examples we have seen earlier. Through looking at the W3 website, found that there is a button option, button tag in HTML, and I am utilizing 3 of these to generate a random pattern to increase and decrease complexity, as you have seen. And I'm also utilizing the canvas tab. I'm creating a canvas of width 512 and height 512. These are numbers that are powers of 2. It will be helpful when we are doubling and halving the size of the squares in a few minutes. And here's a command at the very bottom about invoking the JavaScript. And I want to quickly show you what the JavaScript looks like. We start by initializing our small square size to 32. And then we access the canvas, and we immediately generate a new pattern so that when the page loads, the user does not see a blank page, but rather sees an initial pattern. Then we give functionality to the increasing and decreasing complexity buttons. And all that these things do, so the increased complexity is achieved by halving the initial square size. Initially it was 32 pixels. When you halve it, every time those little squares get smaller and the pattern becomes more complex. And the decreasing complexity button works completely the opposite direction, where every time you press the button, the function is called and you end up doubling the initial square size. That way, you can see that, so let's decrease the complexity. As the small square size get larger, the pattern itself becomes less complex. And then, believe it or not, the entire new random pattern code is right here. What we do is, and here is a console.log I have used for error logging. I'm just going to comment it out because we don't need to see that. So what we do is we take the canvas width and height, and we have a double for loop in which you create squares of square size that are going to cover the entire canvas, and this double for loop achieves that. The likelihood I have assigned to a green or a black square is a half, so there's as equal likelihood of each of these happening. And as you can see here, let's increase the complexity a little bit. So every time I create a new pattern, the likelihood of a green square and the likelihood of a black square are identical. They're 50%. So this is not a terribly complex code, but I learned quite a bit from the examples we have seen about canvases. I've seen some references to button tag in HTML that I used. And the main driving force of the code is the for loops, which I have used 2 of these here. So in this extra credit, maybe I'm demonstrating the understanding about for loops. Alrighty, I hope this was enjoyable, and please forgive my clock. I apologize. Take care.